guys, don't worry, that was not really my son. That was actually Addison's baby doll, Tiny. This is Tiny. Anyway, so as most of you know, my son was born here this past May 10th. Exciting times. Everybody's happy, healthy. He's great. He actually was 7 pounds, 11 ounces, 20.5 inches long, so perfect height, weight. I mean, he's eating like a ton, sleeping pretty good. Actually sleeping pretty good, which is kind of amazing with a newborn. So he's about, what, almost a little under a month old right now today. So I mean, you know, I'm so happy. If you can't tell, I'm happy. Great family I've got. You know, my daughter's awesome, my son's awesome, my wife's awesome, everybody's awesome. That's the theme of today, awesomeness. So it's been about a month since I talked to you guys, and I wanted to give you guys an update on everything that's going on. There's so much going on, and I'll bring out my son into the video here in a little bit so you actually get to see what he looks like and whatnot. A gorgeous little guy, I tell you. I'm just so in love here. You know, you fall in love instantly, but it's just awesome having a son. Alright, so this here's my little guy, Zachary Thomas. He just got a bath and is now ready for a bottle. He's just chilling, just hanging out. You got anything you want to tell them anything? Oh, you just farted on my hand? It's a good thing to tell him. Again? Dude! Oh, he must have to go, I guess. So me and him are going to go get a bottle, and we're going to hang out, and we're going to chill. Maybe pass the ball later on, you know, take him to a strip club or something, I don't know. Whatever dads do with sons, right? Yeah? Alright. Oh, thanks, bud. Let's go. Anyway, so I wanted to tell you guys about the birth, what all happened. Now, I'm not going to show you any video of it. We actually didn't record any video of it. And you'll understand why after I tell you this story. It all started off on the morning of the 10th, around 2 o'clock in the morning, where Amy got up and she was having some cramps and some bleeding. And so she calls the on-call doctor and says, hey, I'm having some cramps and bleeding. Well, you don't right away get a hold of the on-call doctor, so they actually have to call you back. So in the meantime, until they called us back, she comes in and wakes me up and says, do the dishes. So y'all thought that video about Honey-Do List was a joke, didn't you? So I get up, I'm like, alright. So I go in and start doing the dishes because obviously I'm not a stupid guy. So the on-call doctor then calls back, and this is the on-call doctor we can't stand, and she answers the phone. Fredericton. Yeah, I'm bleeding, and, you know, I'm 39 weeks and a day pregnant, and I'm, you know, got some cramping. Well, why don't you wait about a half an hour, and then, you know, we'll see how you feel then. But yeah, I've had like a low-lying placenta all pregnancy, and well, it sounds like you're worried and anxious, so why don't you come in and we'll check you. Now this lady, we can't stand her. There's a little bit of a backstory to it because when Amy was pregnant with Addison, she had kidney stones and they were giving her morphine, and this doctor came to see her and she's like, you know, can I have an ultrasound? And the doctor's like, well, even if the baby's dead, you need to worry about taking care of yourself. Who does that shit? So it's around 3:30 and I take Addison over to our friend's house because they're going to watch her while we go to the hospital, and their son actually goes to school with Addison, so they're just going to go to school together. We then, I get home, start packing everything up, and we're like, alright, let's just go slow. We ain't rushing. You know, it's not that bad now. We're fine. We're fine, right? You know, we don't want to go in there. We hate this lady. Why do we want to go in there and spend hours with her? So we get the car packed up and we're on our way to the hospital, and I'm like, you know what? We're going slow. Do you mind if I run through McDonald's and get a coffee? Surprisingly, Amy says, go ahead. Why not? So we run through McDonald's drive-thru and we end up getting to the hospital right around 4:30ish in the morning. Now, we get to the hospital and the nurse is like, you know, you're only right now about 8 minutes apart, 7.5, 8 minutes apart. The doctor's probably not going to admit you. She'll probably tell you to go home. I'm not sure if I should check you because you've had this low-lying placenta, and if I check you, it could rupture it and it could cause all these problems. And they're like, ah. Let's call the doctor and find out what she wants to do. So our good friend Frederickson, the doctor, is like, well, check her, and if it's not far enough along, then you might as well just go ahead and send her home. So the nurse comes back and she's like, all right, I'm going to check you, but I'm going to try to kind of keep you here just because I don't want to send you home. So they end up checking her, and she is dilated to 4 and 70% of phase. Now, I know what you're thinking. Most of the guys are out there going, 4 and 70? What the heck is 4 and 70? I don't understand this. And all the girls are out there going, oh, yeah. At this point, Amy's friend comes up, and she's hanging out with us, and they're like, okay, you know what? The doctor kind of doesn't want to keep you, but I'm going to go ahead and get an IV in you, and by that time, she's going to have to keep you anyway. So the nurse goes out to get all the stuff set up for the IV. Well, a little while later, Amy's friend has to go back down to work, and Amy's like, why don't you go outside, make some phone calls, tell everybody where we're at, send out text messages, let everybody know that the baby's probably coming here soon. So I'm outside for maybe 15, 20 minutes, doing some text messages, calling some people. By the time I get back upstairs, the contractions are only about 2 minutes apart at this time, which is kind of crazy because they were just at 7.5 minutes apart 20 minutes ago, if that. At about this time, Amy's mom shows up, and they're like, you know, we're like, what's going on? The nurse hasn't been back in there. They don't even know that the contractions are this far apart, like 2.5 minutes at max, 2.5 minutes. So I go out to tell the nurse, well, we're trying to get the IV stuff, so we'll be in there in a couple minutes. Finally, the nurses come in, and one thing about IVs with Amy is she's got this issue where her veins are really, really small, and it's really hard to get an IV in her. So they kind of have to stick her like 8 or 9 times, and it's really painful and really just a terrible, terrible situation. 2 or 3 nurses come in and they try to stick her and try to get an IV in her. And at one point, they've even got me over here working a blood pressure machine because the blood pressure cuff to try to squeeze her arm so tight that a vein pops up so they can stick it in and get it in her. So I'm over here hitting the button, it's squeezing over here, trying to pump up over there, get an IV in her over there. Her 2.5 minutes contractions, and guess what? They check her again and she's already at 6. 30 or 40 minutes have gone by and she's already went from a 4 to a 6, which is crazy and unheard of. So they got me over here doing this, and guess what? The phone rings and they're like, oh, go ahead and answer it. Yeah, it's Amy's friend downstairs. Oh yeah, she's at a 6 and 2.5 minutes, and I'm doing the blood pressure machine. So about this time they realized the severity of the issue, and they're like, we need to get you over into the delivery room and out of this little triage makeshift area. So then the nurse says one of the dumbest things I heard the entire time. Can you get up and walk, or do you need a stroller? Are you serious? That was the look Amy gave the lady without saying any words. It was like, do you see what's happening right in front of your face? So finally one of the nurses is like, well, I was just gonna roll the bed over there. So we all grab up Amy's stuff and we're all headed over there. Me, Amy's mom who showed up, we got Amy in the bed, rolling her over there. They wheel her in there, they sit her up next to it, and there's 3 or 4 nurses, and they're kind of moseying around doing a few things. They're still trying to get the IV in, still can't get the IV in, because, you know, they want to give an epidural, but they can't give an epidural without the IV, and kind of it's a little too late for any of you moms out there who know how soon you have to have the epidural, because at this point, what nobody realized in the room, she was dilated to 10 at 100%, and that sucker was about to come out. Now, for what I'm about to tell you, the time we left the triage area to the room happened at 6:05. The rest of the story takes place between 6:10 and 6:32. Now, granted, we got to the hospital at 4:30 in the morning, and she was only dilated to 4 and 70%. So at this point, me and Amy's mom were standing there, we're watching what's going on. Nurses here, nurses here, nurses here. They're like, okay, honey, can you kind of climb over to the other bed? And again, Amy gives me one of them looks like, are you shitting me? So at this point, she's like, oh, the baby's coming now. Right about the same time, they finally get the IV in her, and guess what? Yeah, hun, you can't have an epidural because it's a little late for that. You're gonna have to go au natural. Well, obviously this freaks out Amy, like freaking out, I can't do this, I can't do this. So here's where the craziness happens. She's like, oh, the baby's coming, and every nurse in the place stops. And at this point, one of them goes running out of the room to get the doctor. 5 more come rushing in, and they're all running around like chickens with their head cut off. What's going on? Finally, they get her off of the triage bed. She's still on the triage bed. And get her onto the regular bed that she's supposed to be on. They don't even take the bottom off yet. They got the warmer on over here. They're doing this. Amy's freaking out. She's in pain. Nurses everywhere. And then at that moment, a nurse comes in, stone-faced, and you knew something was up. Fredrickson's still in the shower at home. Good old Fredrickson couldn't even make it there. She was still in the shower at home. We talked to Fredrickson at 2:30 in the morning, who told us to come on in. She was going to check us. Well, not me. I wouldn't really want her to check me. So at that point, the charge nurse turns and looks at me and says, don't worry, Dr. Shy's here. He's our in-house OB. He'll go ahead and take care of it for you, and he's here on staff right now. Fine with me, as long as it's not Fredrickson. So about this time, something crazy happens on the table, where Amy's hands do one of these and lock up. Amy's like, what's going on with my hands? The nurse next to her is like, you're going into shock. Grabs Amy's arm and says, breathe your own air. What does this do? Amy's freaking out. Her other hand's doing one of these too. One of the nurses grabs me on the shoulders and walks me over to the side of the bed and says, here, hold her hand. You want me to hold that thing? So I get a hold of Amy's hand. There's a nurse on the other side holding her hand. Dr. Shy comes in and he's like, how you doing? I'm Dr. Shy, checking out the situation. At this point, you can tell he don't know the severity of the issue, even though there's like 15 nurses running around with a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off. At this point, Dr. Shy kind of looks around, he's like, okay. And Amy, right on cue, has a contraction, comes up off the bed like the exorcist, grabs my wrist, twists me around this way. I think Dr. Shy got the point because he rips the gown out of a nurse's hands, throws it on, rips the bed apart so he can deliver the baby, and he's like, without going into too many other details, it was pretty quick after that, like 3 pushes, and boom, he was out, healthy, happy, crazy, insane, 25, 30 minutes there. I mean, insane, just like from 0 to 750 in 2.2 seconds. I mean, one of the craziest events I've ever seen. We didn't have time to film anything. That shit ain't beautiful. I don't care what anybody says. But then to add a little whipped cream on top of the story, Dr. Fredrickson showed up 45 minutes after he was born, like she was going out to dinner. But actually there is a cherry on top, and it is my son. Again, he is happy, healthy, and he can't tell me he's not going to be in the vlogs like my wife and daughter. I'm just so excited that he's here. I'm so excited that my family is complete. You know, I love my family. I love my wife, my daughter, my son. I mean, what more could I ask? Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. I'm glad to be making videos again. It's awesome to be back. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys click thumbs up on the video. Check out all the links down below in the litter box. Daily Booth, Facebook, Twitter. Who does Daily Booth anymore? Why do I keep saying that? It's just like a natural reoccurring thing. Make sure you also leave a comment on the video. Let me know what you think. What do you guys want me to do skit video wise? Give me some ideas on some skit videos, because I will gladly try to do them as best I can. That's a terrible Christopher Walken imitation there. I don't know what the hell. Anyway guys, thanks, have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow. Alligator.